Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. In this episode, I'll be taking apart the Chevy 350 that was in my 1972 Blazer. The thing was pretty dirty, pretty oily, had an upgraded distributor on it, and in this video we'll be going through, tearing it down, cleaning it up, putting in new camshaft, new cam bearings, new main bearings, rod bearings, piston rings, new heads, what else? New seals, and we'll be doing all of that. So stay tuned, and we'll see how this rebuild goes.
This is a little crazy. All right, here's both sides of this timing chain. Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, whoop, 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 whoop. I had never seen a timing chain this loose before. It's amazing this thing even ran. It ran strong, which is, hey, Chevrolet. Good for you. But, yeah. Wow. Good times.
I didn't film the disassembly of the block, but I was pleasantly surprised when I pulled the oil pan off and saw that it was a 4-bolt main. And you can tell that, you see these main caps here, there's 4 bolts that hold the middle 3 together. And that's a 4-bolt main. It's a stronger block. And even with the casting number that was on the back part of the block, it could be either 2-bolt or 4-bolt main. And looking at the pad here, they didn't stamp the VIN numbers on the engines back in the 70s on truck engines. Instead, they just put in this code here, and I looked it up, and it says it was built for a 1972 Chevrolet Blazer. So I imagine it's the original engine. And one of the other things I saw, it was full of this dirty oil tar business, and this is just indicative of not changing your oil. And also what I found as I pulled it apart, this tar was behind the oil rings. It was in the bearings, and what happens is it lodges in behind the rings and causes those rings to push harder against the cylinder walls. So you're going to get more wear on your rings, more wear on your cylinder walls. I found it in between the bearings and the caps, and it's going to cause those bearings to push out. So really just a public service announcement, change your oil. I'm absolutely sure to make your engine live a lot longer.
All right, I got the block all cleaned up, and that was a freaking process, let me tell you. Soaked it in trash can full of diesel fuel for 3 or 4 days, pulled it out, pressure washed it, put it back in, pressure washed it, and then I ended up using this Zep purple stuff and spraying it down with just a trigger sprayer and hitting it with the pressure washer, and it took everything off. It's almost like this thing was hot tanked. It's so clean now inside. So right now I am installing the cam bearings. I've got 5, 4, 3, 2 in there, and I'm going to be putting in number 1 down here. So it's I got this tool, and basically the way it works is you take your cam bearings, and by the way, they're all labeled. So 1 is the front, and then 5 is the back. So, and 1's different from the others. It's got 2 holes. Cam bearings got 2 holes. So if you look into the journal up on top, I guess it's not on this one, but I'm gonna have to look up to see which way this needs to be clocked. I've been orienting all the other cam bearings because there's a oiling hole here where the oil comes in. And I've been orienting the hole on the cam bearing against that. So I'll see how this one gets clocked. And then it goes pretty easy. I bought this when I rebuilt my LS. It's a cam bearing. You just slide it on there. It expands out. You just pound them in. It's pretty simple. Just found a website. It talked about where to put the holes. Essentially the load's coming in from this engine's upside down on the stand. But the load's going to be coming in pretty much from this direction. You can see the lifter bores in there. It'll be pushing on the cam this way. And it says you do not want to put the oil hole up here. And these have a ring, so it really doesn't matter where the holes are, but they say it's best to stay out of here and most beneficial to put them down here, sort of on this 180 arc. So this one's got 2 holes in it, and I'm going to put it in with those 2 holes on the bottom. Wish me luck. So in order to clean these pistons, I soaked them in a gallon of Miller Lite overnight, and you can see that one piston there came out really clean. I'm just kidding. I went back to my purple stuff from Zepp. The only problem with that stuff is it's really harmful to aluminum. So I was really careful. I soaked it, each one of them, for maybe 5-6 minutes, and then just kind of came out, ran it through my parts washer, and you can see that one piston came out really clean. I used the old piston rings. I broke them and then used them to clean the grooves out. Worked really well, and I did it to all 8 pistons, and we'll see if it holds up when we fire this bad boy up. So I'm putting the crankshaft in. Actually, the new bearings. I got the seal bearing in the back cap into that one, and just push the bearing into this one. And I use this Lucas assembly lube. And it's just really sticky oil, and it's green. So just stick a little dab will do you. And then I had punched these. This is number 4, and then it's got an arrow points towards the front of the engine, and pretty much just set it in there. Then later, I'm going to be using this stuff here on the threads and on the undersides of the bolt, so I can get accurate torque readings when I torque it down. Fun times. Okay, here's a pro tip. Don't forget to put on your oil pump shaft, and it's got this little nylon deal. It locks it onto the pump before you mount the pump. Because I have worked on a couple engines and helped people out that forgot to put it in, and there's no way you can do it from the top. At least with this collar. Getting this collar down there through this hole when the engine's completely assembled. You got to pull the oil pan back. You got to pull the timing chain cover off. You got to pull the oil pan out. Pro tip. Very important. Put that on the oil pump before you stick it together. All right, getting ready to put the rings on the pistons, put the pistons in the cylinders. And basically what I'm doing is I found this on the internet. Just to show you, I translated the numbers here. So the gap for the top compression ring will go there. The gap for the second one will go there. On the oil wiper ring, the top one will go there. The expander will go there, and the bottom one will go there. So just label them that way. Just to make it easy for me when I go to put it in. And the rings that I'm using are these Sealed Power, just standard size Molly rings. So the top ring's Molly. It was an extra $10, so I said, why not? Splurge a little. But using these ring expanders for the compression rings. For the oil rings, I can't hold a camera and do it to show anybody, but on the oil ring on the bottom, they say to put the expander in, put the top one on first, and then the bottom one. So that's what I'm doing. Putting them in. I've already completed this first cylinder. And then just move on to the other ones. Okay, here's that piston. This piston's now marked. I got the ring gaps where they're supposed to be. This is the, so we get down here. This is the top ring. I got it lined up. Number 1, one below that. It's lined up to number 2, and then trust me, the oil one's good. And I've been using, this is the tool I've been using since I was 16, since 1986. Basically, it goes around, geez, I need to hire a cameraman. It goes around the piston and the rings, and then use this tool here. You tighten it up, it compresses the rings, and then you just take, I've got this mallet here. I use the handle, the bottom of the handle, and I just pound the piston in as hard as I can, as fast as I can. No, just kidding. Just gently tap it in there, and then once it's in there, this piece kind of just falls off, and then rotate the engine. I put the bearings in the rod and in the cap, and then put it together and tighten it down. Pretty easy. All right, before I get comments in the comment section, I just want to say that piston did not go in that cylinder. They each got a notch as it's oriented to the connecting rod, and all those notches on the side of the piston, on the top side of the piston, have to face forward, and it's due to how the connecting rod connects to the crankshaft for clearance. So that piston actually didn't go
in that bore. So I just want to let everybody know it's all good.
Okay, we are with the engine here and getting ready to install the plug that goes to cover the end of the camshaft. I bought this kit here from Summit Racing and went into my toolbox, and a 36, where is it? There it is. 36 millimeter fits perfect. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to drive that in. These ones up here thread in, and it looks like the older style, there was a square, like 1/4 inch drive. This one's actually an Allen head. The older one, the ones that were in there originally, I had to weld a nut onto them and then use a regular wrench to get them out. They were in there pretty tight. And then you can see all the pistons are in. And on this side, I'm going to use just the regular plugs. I'll push them in and then peen them in with a chisel. So just like the factory did. And so far, it's all coming out pretty well. And then, I'm going to use, where is it? Here it is. I'll be coating all that stuff with this Loctite aviation gasket sealant. I know those guys in the aviation world, they don't mess around. So I spent some money. I got that. I'll coat all those pieces before I jam them in there. And then hopefully it'll never leak, because everything leaks. And here's a brand new, I'll give them a plug. Here's a brand new Hulk E-Max air compressor, and look what it's doing. It's leaking because everything in my garage leaks. So I'm going to submit a warranty, and I'm going to get somebody out here to fix that. So, all right then. Thank you. Okay, here's the front of the engine. I went ahead and put those plugs in there and then pounded the shit out of them with that chisel to make sure they were going to stay in there. And then on the back, I got the cam. I didn't know how far to drive that in. I just kind of drove it in as far as it needed to be. You know, the cam was going to be bouncing off of it maybe. And then, put that aviation gasket maker on those Allen screws and then put those in pretty tight. So there it is. I'm going to put the heads on now. And hopefully it all works out. We'll see. I'm going to clean these threads for the head bolts, because I'm going to put sealer on them, because there was sealer on it from the factory. And then here's the head. And these heads I bought, they say Summit on it. I'm going to fix that before I'm done. They're not a sponsor. And the heads are they're $320 a piece, I think. And they've got the big valves. They've got springs that'll go to, I think, a 1/2 inch lift cam. It's all brand new. It's an iron head. I'm not aluminum heads. I'm not an aluminum head guy. I don't see anything wrong with these iron ones for driving to the grocery store and back. So this will be going on there. Okay, here's a public service announcement. So I've got this Craftsman 40-piece rethreading set, and I'll open it up, and it's got this nice little diagram back there telling you the pitch and the threads per inch. And then all the dies are in there, and the rethreading dies. And the question I had, because I've broken a couple of these. You'll see this one's broken. This one's broken. So the problem is you can't buy replacements for those. So what, do you buy a whole set? And the other thing I noticed is, all right, so I bought this from Sears. Craftsman Sears. I think I paid maybe $50-$60 for this when I bought it, a long time ago. And I've noticed online that Snap-on also sells the same kit, same colored box, same colored everything, same paper, but it's like $120. And then I noticed that you could probably go to Harbor Freight and you could buy the same kit, same box, same color, same everything for like $15. So it makes me wonder what's going on in China. All right, it says made in USA. Was that just a piece of paper, or was that the whole thing? Who knows? But I use this a lot to chase threads. clean them up before I put bolts in. I recommend it. It comes with a lot of stuff. Typically you don't use, like this metric stuff in the middle. When I'm working on my LS and my Chevelle, I'll use those, but typically it's just this side or this side. So I don't know. Public service announcement. If I was out there and if I had to do it over again, just go to Harbor Freight and buy this kit because you're just cleaning out threads. You're not really solving the world problems. No need to spend $900. I mean, this sticker, right? You can print this sticker out. Just have it say Snap On. Great. Thank you. All right. That's all I got. Okay, I'm getting ready to bolt the head on now, and I'm going to be using this thread sealer from ARP. Not a sponsor, but hey, made in the USA. I'll be using that on these head bolts, which I have thoroughly cleaned with diesel fuel, with kerosene, and that crazy stuff I get from Lowe's. Jet, I don't know, blue, purple, whatever. But anyway, so it'll be going on this block. Everything's cleaned. I'll be putting the thread sealer underneath the bolt heads and then on the threads. Because what happens is on these small block Chevrolets, the head bolts go right into the water jacket. So if you don't seal the threads, there's a good chance, well, I don't know, there's a chance that the coolant water will get into your oil. So I think this thread sealer, no, it was less than $20. So just buy it, some insurance, and it's made in USA. So, focus, there we go. Thread sealer, made in the USA. All right, I get the head on, torqued down on the right bank. And something I've done is I've top dead centered piston number 1 so that when I start putting this back together, I can line up. It's got external timing marks. I just want to make sure everything's on top dead center. I should have videoed it, but I used a micrometer, made sure it was top dead center. Here's the other cylinders, but getting ready to bolt that head on there. And then, but make sure I won't be moving the crankshaft. I still got to pull that sprocket off. I've got a new timing chain set here from this company who's not a sponsor, and put that on there. And what I'm afraid is the last time I did one of these engines with a dual timing chain or a dual chain timing set, I had to cut into the bosses here to free up some clearance. So I hope I don't have to do that because it's a pain in the ass and I have to clean it up afterwards. But I don't know. We'll see. All right. I've got both heads on, torqued down, thread sealer in there. So we're all good. And I did run into a little problem. So as I showed you earlier, my rethreading kit, I broke one of the pieces a long time ago. And it's the piece that it's needed to clean out these threads. So I had it chucked up in my old DeWalt, that thing right there. And as I'm doing this actually it was this one right here, it came off and it fell down in the water jacket. So I ended up replacing that one, and which was good because I was able to see on the inside, it's really not rusty at all. So whoever had this engine, they never changed the oil, but they did a good job on the coolant. So it wasn't rusty. I feel good about not changing the other plugs. So now it's 9:43 at night. I'm getting ready to go to bed. But I've got my cam that I ordered from some place that's not a sponsor, and this cam's not a sponsor, but I'm going to go ahead and shove that in there before I go to bed tonight and pick it up in the morning. All right. Can't remember where I left this last off, but I've got the timing chain on, and it's all synced up. I've got the heads on, and I use the old rocker arms, and I use the old push rods. I just soaked them in that purple stuff from Lowe's, and I took off all the crud. I showed you the picture earlier of that. So far it's turned out pretty good. I've coated everything in that sticky builder's oil, whatever you want to call it. The camshaft came with red, and I've been using Lucas oil green, so it's very Christmassy inside my block. But It's coming along. I'm using the same fuel pump that came on it. I just cleaned it up. We'll see. I'm trying to make this a cheap build. Try not to spend $1,000 on it. So we'll see, but it's coming along. Right now I'm cleaning this up. I'm gonna put the timing chain cover on. I've got it sandblasted here, and then I put a new seal in it yesterday. So I gotta clean up that, get that oil off of there, and then working on an oil pan. One of the things I like to do in an oil pan is when they put the bolts in, it tends to mushroom out the holes. And then I'm going to be using a cork gasket, and if you use a cork gasket and these holes, I don't know if I can get a shot of it, but you can see, it's not going to focus, but it protrudes up. And what it does is it digs into that cork gasket, and then it doesn't seal on either side of the hole. So I'm going to take a dolly and a hammer. I'm going to flatten all those out. And then I'm going to sandblast this one more time. I soaked it 1,000 times. I think I got all the oil out. It's hard to tell up underneath there. But all the old carbon and oil buildup, it's all out. So it'll all be cleaned up. And we'll get this thing back together so we can start working on the frame here. I kind of want to still got the transmission and I got the transfer case over there. I still need to rebuild those. So then I can start working on that body. So here we go. Here's the engine, mostly assembled. I've got the Summit heads on there, and they were kind enough to put their name on them, both sides. I'm kind of going for a restored look, so I'll be taking JB Weld, cleaning those grooves out, and then filling that in, and then sanding it smooth. So you won't. Sorry, Summit, you're not a sponsor. I'm not keeping your name on the front of these heads, but the oil valley turned out really well. It's really cleaned up. And now I'm just going to be working on oil pan, getting that cleaned up, installed. Timing chain cover's already installed. Probably do the rocker panels or the valve cover panels next. And then we got the intake, still needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And probably sandblast that and then get that on there. And then I'm going to move on to the transmission, this dirty transmission, and the transfer case. Those will be the next things that I tackle. Here's another tip. When you remove an oil pan from a small block Chevrolet, make sure you hold on to these two gaskets. One goes under the timing chain, and then the other one up around the rear journal, oil pump holder thing. So, and then they go into the oil pan. So the reason I say to save them is because when you get a new gasket kit, you're going to get a front one and you're going to get two rear ones. So for some reason, Chevrolet made two different designs on the back. I haven't done any research. I don't know if there's specific years, specific small blocks, but you'll get a thick one and you'll get a thin one. And if you're like me, and if you didn't keep your old ones, you'll guess which one it is, make a really good educated guess, and then be wrong. And then have to pull it all apart, re-RTV it, maybe even buy new gaskets. But in this instance, I saved it, and I can tell I've got to use the new skinny one, not this thick one. So just a tip, learn from me, do things once. I do everything twice, so maybe not this time. I'll only have to do it once. But there it is. There's the tip of the day. Here's the underside of the block, getting ready to remove all of that assembly lube, that sticky oil, grease, whatever you want to call it. It's everywhere. But here's that channel of that rear main oil pan seal, and I don't think this changes sizes. I think it's actually the oil pan. It's either big, small, however they call it. But yeah, you just want to make sure you have the right one, because otherwise, if you use a thick one, none of these back bolts will really tighten down, give you a nice big gap. And then when you pull it apart, all your RTV gets everywhere. It just makes a big giant mess. So there you go. And that's it. So I'm going to be working on cleaning that up, some brake cleaner, get that surface prepped, and then I'll be using my trusty Loctite aviation gasket sealant. Brush that on there, get it nice and squishy, and then bolt it all together. And then hopefully put this thing to bed. am working on the manifold. There's been a lot of carbon buildup on this where the exhaust crosses over. So there was rivets. I got one here. There's rivets holding it in place, and I just used a hammer and a chisel and took all 4 off. So let's see, because I don't think I'm not gonna be able to clean it from up underneath there, so I need to take it off. So let's see. Oh my! Wow, it's a lot of oil, carbon buildup, quite a bit. So I'll be cleaning that off, and I won't be filming that. So I'll be getting to cleaning that off. Okay, here is the intake manifold. I had it out of the sandblast cabinet earlier, and it's completely clean now. Looks brand new. And then I'll flip it over to the other side. And so on this side, this is the underside. This is the side that'll face the inside of the engine. This metal plate right here, I just tack welded it in there. There was rivets. There was one rivet that made it. I pounded it back in. It did fine. But the rest of them did not, so I just tacked them in there. But it'll work fine. It's just for this crossover right here. So the exhaust goes from here to here, and it warms up the manifold. So if you're in a cold climate, it gets the engine up to operating temperature pretty quick. So, but you know, unfortunately, I'm in Arizona, where it's 1,000 freaking degrees almost every day. Yeah, but I'm still gonna make it work. So we'll see. You know, if I move, which is never gonna happen, to a colder climate, you know, this blazer will start right up. We'll see, but it's clean. You know, the point of this video is to make it clean. It's clean underneath. It's clean on the top, and I'll be putting it on soon. Here she is, ready for some paint. I'm going to first put paint on where it says Summit. See how good of a job I did with covering that up. And then if I have to, I'll sand it off before I do a full coat. But it's all taped up. Those are the old spark plugs. I'm going to paint them, and then they'll come out. And yeah, we'll get on with it. Here is the painted engine. It's all done. It's did this back in the winter time. It's now installed in the frame. Those videos are coming soon with me firing it up. And I just want to thank everybody who has subscribed and given me a like. That certainly gives me the motivation to make more of these videos. So if you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.